Hi, Aidan. Hi, Matilda. How are you both today?
Very good,
Really?
thank you. How are you?
Good to hear. Good to hear. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's Janelle. I'm representing TELUS, which actually will be distributing Leonardo in Canada, which is really exciting. So
Wow.
wanted to thank you both for being here and congratulations on just such a phenomenal show. I'm a massive fan. I know we don't have a ton of time, so want to dive right into it if possible. My first question is for you, Aidan. You know, what I love so much about this show is it brings this new sense of youth and vulnerability and humanity to this man that history has almost portrayed as godlike in his genius. So how did you find that balance portraying Leonardo as both this unimaginable genius, but also a really flawed and haunted young man?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what attracted me to the role. I mean, we've seen, it wasn't just your traditional linear, historical costume drama and the narrative and the way it's told. I mean, I think reading even the first script, I thought we're trying to get to the core of who this person was, like what made him, what drove him emotionally, and what were his insecurities and vulnerabilities. And we're not just focusing on the great art or the great artists. We're trying to get to the essence of who this human was. So it becomes a little less terrifying when you go in that way. It can be when the project first came up, I thought, oh, it's almost too much to take. Like, how does anyone do it? But I think with Frank's scripts, and we worked together and we talked a lot about who he was and who we think he was. We don't really know, but we can imagine from different materials that we can source, we can sort of put together a person. But a lot of it just comes from working. It comes from working with the directors and producers and what you're giving yourself. Where does your imagination take you? And how did you feel as a younger artist? Or how did you witness other people feel? And, he was very young when he joined Verrocchio Studio. He was probably in his teens, early 20s. So I mean, we were told that he probably wasn't a very confident person. He had the same insecurities we all have. So when you go in that way, you can begin to sort of form this character that you're going to play, but it doesn't make it any less scary, I suppose. I mean, he's almost a mythical figure. You're right. It's what he achieved is huge, and not just as an artist. He's an engineer and a botanist, anatomist. He was an extraordinary figure.
Yeah, and kind of building on that note of mystery, my next question is for you, Matilda. We know that Caterina de Cremona was a real person, but history has not documented her well. We know she kind of existed, but we don't know that much about her. So how did you feel having that creative freedom with the role? And what were the characteristics of her that you felt were really important to bring to life with quite a mysterious character?
Yeah. Well, it's true. Caterina is a fictional character. It's someone found letters where Leonardo would ask for a certain Caterina to be his model, and there's this preparatory sketch for Leda in this one that can be a tribute to her, but really we don't know that much about her. So it was really beautiful for me and really liberating to have the freedom to build my own character and my own Caterina with my imagination, based on a beautiful script written by Frank Spotnitz that was already perfect and beautiful and really inspiring. And what was really important for me was to give authenticity to their relationship with Leonardo, because you see, Caterina is a beautiful character with her own life, her own space, but most of all is in contrast and it's complementary with Leonardo's figure. So for me, it was really important to connect with Aidan and his perception and his view of Leonardo da Vinci, and built something that was believable in a relationship in a 1400 between a man and a woman without chaperones, seen together, walking together with this platonic and pure and strange relationship. But it has to be honest, it has to be believable. And so for me, what was really important, it was to create empathy with him, and to give strength to his character and my character as well. So be with him all the time, knowing that Katrina is a fictional character. So it was really fun for me to create her as I wanted to.
Yeah. And what I love so much about this show too is, while it transports us back to Italy in the 1400s, there's some phenomenal modern subtleties in the show that I feel makes it feel very accessible and relatable. So question maybe for both of you, what do you feel is it about this show that will feel relevant and pertinent to today's generation? And why did you feel that this story was appropriate to be telling in this day and age?
Well, I think Caterina and Leonardo have quite a modern relationship. He was a gay man. So at the time, I mean, even as Matilda said, being unchaperoned together, a man and a woman, wouldn't have been the thing that would have happened so often, but we can believe it would have happened. But having that, I haven't seen it in so many historical dramas where you have that kind of relationship, a platonic relationship. There's always some love interest thing happening, and it just felt really refreshing. And also, I said before, but I mean, people were people. It's nice to see, relationships evolve as they would. I mean, obviously there's some restrictions on certain things, but it's generally people have always been the way people are, and will desire certain things. And I don't think we shy away from anything, but certainly our relationship is quite refreshing and quite different, I think, for television of this genre.
And well, I was thinking about the fact that, for example, Katerina is a woman that can't bear children, and even nowadays, women are led to think that if you're not a mother, you're an incomplete woman, right? So tell a story like that with such an important theme of a woman in the 1400 that couldn't have children. So it was a useless woman back to those days. And she could dream about maybe being the mistress of someone. And if you think about it, it is rather sad that even nowadays, sometimes we still have the feeling that women needs to be mothers to achieve like some sort of goal in society, and it made me think a lot about it. So in this sense, she's really ahead of time, because she doesn't care. She doesn't want to be defined by her motherhood, and she doesn't want to be defined by what she does, but for who she is. And who she is a very beautiful and strong and independent woman. So she inspired me a lot in that sense.
No, that's absolutely wonderful. So true. Kind of building off of that question as well, the show was such an example of, phenomenal European collaboration and talent. And particularly, I think during COVID, a lot of our North American audiences have gravitated to more international content due to its universal appeal. So wanted to get both of your perspectives on, what is it about Leonardo and the themes that emerge in this story that you think would captivate, audiences potentially in Canada, obviously for our viewers, but all over the world?
Well, again, I think, we all know the works, we know the great works, but we don't ever really focus on the person who did them. And there's a human being behind this genius. And he can be, I think he's sort of impenetrable sometimes when you think of him. He has this mythical, iconic sort of aura around him. And sometimes we focus on the work, we don't see him as a person. It was important for us to show he was a person, that he had relationships like we all have, that he has vulnerabilities like we all have. I think relating him to a human was really important, and something that I couldn't find in earlier, in any other adaptations that really got to the core. That was special for me, and special for our show, I think. I mean, that's striking to find that person all the time. Is that your dog?
Sorry, it was my dog.
I thought you were telling me.
Yes, I agree.
We're doing an interview.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if that answers your question, but it's all right.
Sorry, distracted you. Sorry.
It's all right. I miss your little dog.
Yeah.
Oh,
Miro.
he'd be barking a lot on set as well, if I remember correctly.
Lovely.
It's so cute.
Yeah. I didn't know, Matilda, if you had any thoughts on what you think it is about Leonardo that would appeal to a larger international audience here.
I completely agree. I
Mhm.
completely agree. What was interesting for me, it was to discover the men behind the genius, and also the thriller part of the show is very intriguing. It's very interesting because it's not, of course, a documentary about Leonardo da Vinci's life. And not everything in the show is real and not everything is accurate. And it's important to know that it's not something to relate too much on, but it's beautiful because it's clever and it gives you the chance to really dig into the personality of a genius. Of course, it has to be cinema friendly. And I think it's, when I was reading the script, I was completely drawn to it, so I think the spectators will be too. And it's an amazing show, and it talks about a lot of important themes like love and ambitions and art and passions and you know, homosexuality back in the days and maybe even today. I mean, so it's such an important show and written in a brilliant way and displayed in a brilliant way. So I think everyone will love it just like we do.
Yes, fantastic. Well, I think we're at time here, so just want to say again, thank you so much. Congratulations. The show is absolutely phenomenal. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Janelle.